Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hope y'all are keeping it real. Hope y'all are keeping it way past cool. But, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and just cut to the basics here. I ain't got time for no other intros right now. Only thing I will say is this. I need all of you to please pay attention to what I'm gonna be showing you in this video. Now, I ain't got time to go into details, that much details about what it's all about. I just ask that you all please pay attention to it. Now, it's up to you on how you choose to listen to it. You're entitled to your own opinion, but I'm asking you to please pay attention. Please hear what this video has in it. Please pay attention to what you're seeing. Now, this is just something that I've been pretty much working on well, it's been in the working stages for months now. I would say like about a few months. I have no idea. It's just been sitting on the sidelines until I could find, some other way to send it to you because it just doesn't seem like too many people want to pay attention out there nowadays. I'm not trying to say anything bad, guys. Really, honestly, I'm not. I'm just trying to say that there's not too many wanting to pay attention what's going on. And I really do need y'all to pay attention to this. This is for your own safety. This is for your own spiritual health, too. Now, there's no need to panic. There's no need to panic, not at all, not a zip. Only thing I need y'all to do is just pay attention to what this video has in store for you. Now, if this works, it can help you if you pay attention to it. Now, it's up to you. I can't make you choose your lifestyle. I can't make you live how you want to live. That's your choice. Only thing I can ask you to do is just to please pay attention, hear me out on all of this, and actually hear what's going to be going on here in all this. And I need y'all to please pay attention to this. This is really, 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 really important. I can't wait no longer on this, and I feel like it's something that it just can't wait. It just can't wait. It needs to hurry up and get out there. I'm trying to do the finishing touches on it, but I'm wanting to take my time with it. But by the time you guys get it, it will already be done. But there'll probably still be some other videos that'll be pretty much posted in the future. But I want to take my time with them as well as this one. But by the time y'all get this one, the first video will already be done. But there's be some other ones probably following along with it. But I can't say when those will be posted. They'll be posted whenever they get done, and this will be posted whenever it gets to you. So until then, you guys be cool. Don't be cruel. Remember, we don't need no cyberbullies. We want everybody to be able to have fun while we're on here on social media. We're trying to have fun with our friends and everybody else. We don't need no more trouble. We don't need no more drama. We already have enough going on as it is. So let's do what we can to be kind to one another. Remember, God created everyone. He didn't create just one race. He created everybody. So the only thing I can ask you guys is just be kind to one another. Love your neighbors as you would want them to love and care for you. Don't steal from them. Don't try and hurt them or anything else of that nature. Don't even try and hurt their feelings, because you wouldn't want nobody to do that to you, would you? Of course not. So please, I ask, beg, and pray of all of you. Please pay attention to what this video is going to be showing you and what what I've already put in it. Now, I can't say y'all are going to like all of it. The only thing I ask is that y'all please pay attention and please don't panic. There's no need for y'all to have anxiety attacks. Just listen to what's being said in here, and I hope and pray y'all pay attention and add it on to your day-to-day walk in life. I pray that this does help you, but God bless you guys. Y'all stay safe out there. Until then, be cool, and again, do not be cruel.
Making this video about something that happened last night. I'm going to call this a visit with the Lord. I was having trouble sleeping, and I opened my eyes and looked at the foot of the bed, and there stood an angel, between 7 and 8 feet tall, very beautiful, lovely wings. And he said to me, "You need to come with me." And I said, "Is it my time?" And he said, "No, your time has not come, but you need to come with me. You have a very important meeting." Well, it ain't like you can refuse them. So, whew, gone. I felt as if I was moving at the speed of light. Come over this green meadow all over again. Could see the crystal sea. Over the walls. And stopped right at the gate. And this guy came walking toward me. And he said, "Oh, you're here for your meeting. Come with me." And I said, Are you Peter?" He said, "Oh, no, I'm not Peter. My name's Lazarus. Come with me." And I followed him. And we walked down this little pathway, and there was a garden. There was so many flowers and birds singing and little critters running around. And Jesus was sitting there on a bench, and he said, "Come sit by me." I walked over, I said, "Yes, Lord." And I sat down, I said, "Lord, why am I here? Time is out. The Father is pouring out his wrath, and the world is about to become an ugly place. But all who believe in me shall overcome the world as I overcome the world. And you will overcome the world as I overcome the world."
Of Christian World News, I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. Afghanistan's tiny Christian community is facing elimination. Some leaders have already disappeared. Others fear death or that their wives and daughters will be taken as sex slaves.
Despite those very real threats, Afghan Christians say they will keep living for Jesus. Recently, I spoke with an underground church leader about life under the Taliban. Within hours of capturing Herat, the terror group's fighters were out patrolling streets trying to convince residents of Afghanistan's third largest city that life would soon return normal.
Business will continue as normal, and people are happy with us. And with our services, they will be happier.
Hamid has serious doubts about those claims.
Right now, we fear elimination. The Taliban are going to eliminate the Christian population of Afghanistan.
Hamid, not his real name, is among thousands of Afghans who've come to faith in Jesus Christ over the past 2 decades. We've concealed his identity for safety.
There weren't a lot of Christians 20 years ago during the Taliban time. But today, we are talking about 5,000 to 8,000 local Christians, and they live all over Afghanistan.
In an exclusive interview from an undisclosed location, Hamid told CBN News he's very concerned about the future of Afghanistan's tiny Christian community.
We know a Christian believer who we've been working with in the north. He is a leader, and we've lost contact with him because his city has fallen to the Taliban. There are 3 other cities that we have lost contact with our Christian believers.
According to Open Doors, Afghanistan is the second most dangerous place to be a Christian in the world, just behind North Korea. The majority of the Christians here converted from Islam.
Some of the believers are known in their communities. People know that they converted from Islam to Christianity, and they are considered apostates, and the penalty for that is death. The Taliban are famous for carrying out that punishment.
Taliban fighters are reportedly now going door to door, forcing families to give up their daughters, some as young as 12, to be sex slaves for their men.
I have 4 sisters that are single. They are at home, and they are worried about this.
David, a foreign national, has worked in Afghanistan for the past 3 decades. We've taken similar precautions to protect his identity. He saw the Taliban's brutality up close while living in Kabul during its last reign. Now comes fear of a return to the days of regular executions, flogging, stoning to death, and hand-chopping.
They have a strict interpretation of Islamic law, not only from the Quran, but also from what they call hadiths, which are traditions, sayings, and practical applications of Islamic law. They take these literally.
Despite these threats, David says there's a hunger among Afghans like never before to know God in an intimate way.
People are really seeking in their heart for peace, seeking for a true relationship with God, for meaning in life, and for an understanding of who is this God.
Hamid is asking people around the world to pray for his country during these uncertain times.
The Christian community in Afghanistan is strong. They are trusting Jesus. They are working with Jesus despite the potential of being eliminated by the Taliban.
The persecution of the church is here. They don't want you fellowshipping. They don't want you praying together. They don't want you getting together, having meetings. Why? Because you'll talk. And when you'll talk, you'll decide God's going to be better for you than the government. Then you'll rise up against the government, and the government will lose control. They don't want to lose control. They want you under their thumb all the time, doing everything that they can do to separate you from the Lord, the love of God, and the forgiveness, the mercy, the prayer, and the teaching.
The president defends his support of abortion. Former Vice President Joe Biden and other Democrats debated issues like immigration, climate change, and health care. The moderators never asked about abortion. Still, Biden shared his views. White House correspondent Mark Irons tells us more.
Jason, the entire Democratic field supports abortion. The presidential candidates have already made that clear. The Catholic Church says life is sacred and no one has the right to destroy an innocent human being. But last night, Biden was challenged about his evolution on this topic from a fellow Democrat.
Talk about now running for president and you change your position on the Hyde Amendment.
Senator Kamala Harris questions the former vice president about his flip-flop on the Hyde Amendment. It stops federal taxpayer dollars from paying for most abortions. Catholic Joe Biden supported that until just last month.
I support a woman's right to choose. I support it's a constitutional right. I've supported it. I will continue to support it. And I will, in fact, move as president to see to...
Well, Tracy, let's go way back to 1974. Then a 31-year-old Senator Joe Biden said that Roe versus Wade went too far. Today, it's a much different story. The Catholic Democrat says if elected to the presidency, he says that he plans to expand access to abortions. Tonight, we take a closer look at Joe Biden's political belief and how it clashes with his faith. A campaign ad from February highlights how Joe Biden relies on his faith to see him through the times of trial in his life.
My religion is just an enormous sense of solace.
Democratic nominee Joe Biden says he's in a battle for the soul of the nation, and he's highlighting his Catholic identity to connect with voters. In an EWTN News Real Clear Opinion Research Online poll of U.S. Catholic voters earlier this year, 51% said that they would vote for Joe Biden versus 40% who would re-elect President Trump, and 8% said they don't know. A recent Pew study had similar findings. Catholic nominee Joe Biden supports abortion in contrast to Catholic teaching. The Catechism of the Catholic Church explains, quote, "They are guilty of scandal who establish laws or social structures leading to the decline of morals, which would extend to those who publicly support the killing of the unborn." Joe Biden also supports same-sex marriage. In June 2015, when the Supreme Court ruled same-sex marriage was legal nationwide, then Vice President Joe Biden said in a statement, quote, "We couldn't be prouder. All marriages at their root are defined by unconditional love. And in 2016, he officiated the wedding of two same-sex former White House staffers. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops says since marriage originated from God, then, quote, neither church nor state can alter the basic meaning and structure of marriage. Joe Biden has met Pope Francis several times, including at the Vatican and during the Holy Father's 2015 visit to the U.S. Capitol. In a video released earlier this month, Joe Biden highlighted the special affection he has for Catholics.
He's 5 decades in Washington. Think of it. He's been in public office for 47 years. He's done nothing. Now he's going to fix everything. Doesn't work that way. And I wouldn't say he's at the top of his game, would you? Do you think? But he's supported every single globalist attack on American workers. Joe Biden's policies put China first and America last. And that's what he'll continue to do if he ever got this shot. And you will have a disruption in the markets, the likes of which our country has never seen. You will have a crash in the markets because he's going to double and triple your taxes. He's going to do things that nobody ever would ever think even possible because he's following the radical left agenda. Take away your guns, destroy your Second Amendment, no religion, no anything, hurt the Bible, hurt God. He's against God, he's against guns, he's against energy, our kind of energy. I don't think he's going to do too well in Ohio. If he did, would have a big story. He's not going to do well. And, I was in Texas the other day. I said, wait a minute. The other side is against guns. They're against oil and gas. They're against religion, Bible, God. How's he going to win Texas? How's he going to win Texas? So he's not going to win Texas. He's not going to win Ohio. We're running against a radical left ideology. Their messenger is Sleepy Joe. He doesn't know it's his message. He has no idea what the message is. But he's going to do whatever they tell him to do. You know it. Because
I'm not
he's
supposed
not
to take
all
any
there.
questions, but go ahead.
Mr. President, on Afghanistan?
I'm not going to answer Afghanistan now.
Laura, the other apparent misstep of the president today has been a moment in that ceremony when he appears to check his watch for the time, which wouldn't be quite in keeping with the moment. Supporters, defenders of the president have said that that's a gift of his late son, Beau Biden, but that's actually been repeatedly found to be a false story. It came up originally during the inauguration, but it's proven to be a gift from clarification from the White House from the First Lady, Jill Biden, for Christmas. It's a Rolex, reportedly around $7,000, which garnered a bit of media coverage at the time. But this is already really infuriating many who support the veteran community, saying you shouldn't be watching the time when he's taking part in such a serious ceremony. I'm not sure what you think, if you think he was checking the time too, or if it might be a bit of a mischaracterization.
I'm going to say well away.
Feckless, dementia-ridden piece of crap just sent my son to die. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning to Marines at my door telling me my son was dead.
And they would have followed him through the gates of hell if that's what it took. And ultimately, that's pretty much what he did.
My son was one of the Marines that died yesterday. And to listen to that. Sorry, I'm on the radio.
No. Go ahead.
My son was one of the Marines that died yesterday. 20 years and 6 months old, getting ready to come home from Jordan to be with his wife to watch the birth of his son. And that feckless, dementia-ridden piece of crap just sent my son to die. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning to Marines at my door telling me my son was dead. So, to have her on right before me and listen to that piece of crap talk about diplomatic with freaking Taliban terrorists who just blew up my son and know nothing, to not say anything about, oh my God, I'm so sorry for the families. So my son is gone, and I just want all you Democrats who cheated in the election or who voted for him legitimately, you just killed my son with a dementia-ridden piece of who doesn't even know he's in the White House. He still thinks he's a senator. So I'm going to try and calm down. I'm sorry.
Best kid in the world. You couldn't ask for any better. Loved his family. His sisters absolutely adore him. He led his men into that, and they followed him. But I know in my heart of hearts he was out front, and they would have followed him through the gates of hell if that's what it took. And ultimately, that's pretty much what he did.
It's coming, and it's coming to a town near you. I'm sorry this is not what it normally is. This is not what y'all expect. But I can't help it. God won't let me talk about nothing else. I've reached for the Bible 3 times, and he says, take your hand off and keep. They're not listening. Listen! Wake up! This war is coming. And it's coming with a fury. And it's God's wrath. He's had enough of the blasphemy, of the hatred, of the vulgarity, of the pedophilia, of the rape, murder, and torture of children, of the rape, murder, and torture of Christians, of the suppression, of the vileness, of the ugliness of this world. It is 1,000 times worse now than when it was when Noah built the ark. It is 1,000 times worse. There are whole cities dedicated to nothing but sin. New Orleans. Give me a set of beads. Girls flashing their breasts for plastic beads you can buy at the dollar store. Drunkards falling everywhere. Right there in Vegas. Sin City itself. Atlantic City. Horseshoe up in Indiana. Casinos everywhere. Sin City. Where you can buy flesh to lay with. Be it a man or a woman, whichever one you want. Drugs, alcohol, gambling, beating, rape, robbery, looting, murder. It's all for sale. And God's tired of it. He's fed up with it. He's tired of seeing his word destroyed in the streets. He's tired of seeing his church houses destroyed and violated. He's sick to death of innocent babies being slaughtered by the millions every year at the hands of abortionists. How long do you think God's going to put up with it? He's showing you it's over, it's out, it's done. You've got a warning. Take it. Get your storehouse in order. Get your life in order. Get your heart in order. Get your mindset and ready to face whatever this world has, because God is about to open up the biggest can of whoop-tail this world has ever seen.
Who've been in COVID hotspots interstate.
Gertie Sperling joins us now. Gertie, it's a blanket no jab, no entry rule.
It is, Rosanna. By the 27th of September, truckies and freight workers who've been in the ACT, New South Wales and Victoria must provide evidence that they've had at least one COVID jab, or else they'll be turned away at the border. Authorities here have been on tenterhooks after 6 infected truckies passed through the state in recent weeks, forcing hundreds into quarantine. The tough new rule is just another measure to stop the highly contagious Delta strain seeping in. The transport sector isn't against mandatory vaccines, but fear many truckies won't be able to roll up their sleeves before the deadline.
But we just have to have solutions to make this work practically, because there'll be a much bigger problem if we turn away 20% of the trucks, let alone 40%.
What impact that could have on supplies and deliveries remains to be seen. SA Health is currently working to establish pop-up vaccine clinics at the Tailem Bend and Yamba testing sites. They'll be up and running by the end of next week, with the Paraka Vaccine Clinic offering walk-in appointments to truckies from the 21st of
They've been available to work 24/7. They need those other players in the supply chain here at the port to do their part, to put in the orders and get them helping out. President Biden has released this strategy to try to solve this shipping crisis. Will President Biden's plan work?
Well, let's just step back to see what that plan is. It's the new theme song is that we're open. The Port of Los Angeles is open 24/7. So we have always been open 24 hours a day. So it's not something new. It's just something where people are getting stimulated to come pick up their cargo at different times of hours of the night, day and night. So we've always been here. We've always been available. And if the other parts of the supply chain decide on buying into that plan, the congestion should ease.
So again, some of these containers here for weeks, Kira, and the union leaders telling me this crisis isn't going to be over anytime soon. There's no switch to flip to turn this operation into 24/7 at every piece of this puzzle. They warned me this crisis could continue into next year's holiday season. Kira.
I sure hope not. Kaylee Hartung there from the largest port in the country, by the way, Los Angeles. Thank you so much, Kaylee. Well, these global supply chain issues severely impact the distribution of goods on an international scale, and as we've seen, have a very visible effect here in the United States. Sharply higher prices for food and energy, but also cars, clothing, and furniture, among other goods and services, is an everyday issue that is directly hurting consumers' wallets. So how can you expect it to hit yours? ABC News business correspondent Deidre Bolton joining us now, hopefully with the answer to that question and more. Deidre, give us the big picture, okay? How will the price hikes from the shipping backlog that we're watching and Kaylee explained affect the pricing on everyday essentials that people need from day to day? I mean, I'm already seeing it when I go into various stores. Empty shelves, higher prices. It's right in front of our face.
That is exactly right, Kira. It is already here. And I just want to give you or share with you this big picture view that I have heard from business leaders. For example, CEO of Columbia Sportswear, from economists, from people who own software and logistics companies. Each one of them has told me, we have never seen anything like this. It is a unique set of circumstances. In some cases, Kira, as you say, we're already seeing it, and quite frankly, there's not that much that consumers...
Folks, y'all better get ready. If you don't have food stored up, you better be storing it up. And I don't mean that garbage, that survival food they selling online at an overprice. Get you some canned corn, canned peas, canned carrots, canned potatoes. Get you some of that. You see them hanging there, not in the cooler, them hams. Salt and sugar cured hams hanging up there. Get you some of them. Get you some flour, put it in 5-gallon buckets. Get you some sugar, put it in 5-gallon buckets. Get you some coffee, put it in 5-gallon buckets. But get yourself ready. Dry beans, rice. God's giving you a warning right now to make ready your storehouse. Make ready your storehouse. Get your bottled water.
To admit that you approved of NIH funding for gain-of-function research in Wuhan, but your repeated denials have worn thin, and a majority of Americans, frankly, don't believe you. Even the NIH now admits that EcoHealth Alliance did perform experiments in Wuhan that created viruses not found in nature that actually did gain in lethality. The facts are clear. The NIH did fund gain-of-function research in Wuhan, despite your protestations. You can deny it all you want, but even the Chinese authors of the paper, in their paper, admit that viruses not found in nature were created, and yes, they gained in infectivity. Your persistent denials, though, are not simply a stain on your reputation, but are a clear and present danger to the country and to the world. As Professor Kevin Esfelt of MIT has written, gain-of-function research looks like a gamble that civilization can't afford to risk. And yet here we are again, with you steadfast in your denials. Why does it matter? Because gain-of-function research with laboratory-created viruses not found in nature could cause a pandemic even worse the next time. We're suffering today from one that has a mortality of approximately 1%. They're experimenting with viruses that have mortalities of between 15 and 50%. Yes, our civilization could be at risk from one of these viruses. Experiments that combine unknown viruses with known pandemic-causing viruses are incredibly risky. Experiments that combine unknown viruses with coronaviruses that have as much as 50% mortality could endanger civilization as we know it. And here you sit, unwilling to accept any responsibility for the current pandemic and unwilling to take any steps to prevent gain-of-function research from possibly unleashing an even more deadly virus. You mislead the public by saying that the published viruses could not be COVID. Well, exactly no one is alleging that. No one is alleging that the published viruses by the Chinese are COVID. What we are saying is that this was risky type of research, gain-of-function research. It was risky to share this with the Chinese, and that COVID may have been created from a not yet revealed virus. We don't anticipate the Chinese are going to reveal the virus if it came from their lab. You know that, but you continue to mislead. You continue to support NIH money going to Wuhan. You continue to say you trust the Chinese scientist. You appear to have learned nothing from this pandemic. Will you today finally take some responsibility for funding gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator, with all due respect, I disagree with so many of the things that you've said. First of all, gain of function is a very nebulous term. We have spent, not us, but outside bodies, a considerable amount of effort to give a more precise definition to the type of research that is of concern that might lead to a dangerous situation. You are aware of that. That is called P3CO.
We're aware that you deleted gain of function from the NIH website.
Well, I can get back to that in a moment if we have time. But let's get back to the operating framework and guide rails of which we operate under. And you have ignored them. The guidelines are very, very clear that you have to be dealing with a pathogen that clearly is shown and very likely to be highly transmissible in an uncontrollable way in humans and to have a high degree of morbidity and mortality, and that you do experiments to enhance that, hence the word EPPP, enhanced pathogens of
So when
potential
EcoHealth
pandemic.
Alliance took the virus
well, I would love to
SHC014
finish.
and combined it with WIV1 and caused a recombinant virus that doesn't exist in nature, and it made mice sicker, mice that had humanized cells, you're saying that that's not gain-of-function research?
According to the framework and guidelines.
So what you're
of
doing is
P3
defining away gain-of-function.
No.
You're simply saying it doesn't exist because you changed the definition on the NIH website. This is terrible, and you're completely trying to escape the idea that we should do something about trying to prevent a pandemic from leaking from a lab. There's the preponderance of evidence now points towards this coming from the lab, and what you've done is change the definition on your website to try to cover your ass, basically. That's what you've done. You've changed the website to try to have a new definition that doesn't include the risky research that's going on. Until you admit that it's risky, we're not going to get anywhere. You have to admit that this research was risky. The NIH has now rebuked them. Your own agency has rebuked them. But the thing is you're still unwilling to admit that they gained in function when they say they became sicker. They gained in lethality. It's a new virus. That's not gain of function?
According to the definition that is currently operable, you know, Senator, let's make it clear for the people who are listening. The current definition was done over a 2 to 3 year period by outside bodies, including the NSABB, 2 conferences by the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine on December 2014, March 2016. We commissioned external risk-benefit assessment, and then on January of 2017, the Office of Science and Technology Policy of the White House issued the current policy.
And coincidentally,
I have not
the
changed
definition
any
appeared
definition.
on the same day the NIH said that, yes, there was a gain of function in Wuhan. The same day the definition appeared, the new definition, to try to define away what's going on in Wuhan. Until you accept it, until you accept responsibility, we're not going to get anywhere close to trying to prevent another lab leak of this dangerous sort of experiment. You won't admit that it's dangerous, and for that lack of judgment, I think it's time that you resign.
Thank you, Senator Paul. And I would like to give the time to Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, well, there were so many things that are egregious misrepresentation here, Madam Chair, that I don't think I'd be able to refute all of them, but just a couple of them for the listeners to hear for. You have said that I am unwilling to take any responsibility for the current pandemic. I have no responsibility for the current pandemic. The current pandemic, okay? Number 2, you said the overwhelming amount of evidence indicates that's a lab leak. I believe most card-carrying viral phylogenists and molecular virologists would disagree with you that is much more likely, even though we leave open all possibilities, it's much more likely that this was a natural occurrence. Third, you say we've
tested 80,000 animals and no animals have been found with COVID.
Senator Paul, the time is for
And
Dr. Fauci to
third,
respond.
you made a statement just a moment ago that's completely incorrect, where you say we continue to support research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
You proved it in
which is
August of last
completely-
year.
No, your statement says, quote, I wrote it down as you were writing. You continue to support research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
You were in committee a month ago and
Which
said
is
you still
completely-
trust the Chinese scientists and you still support the research over there. You said it a month ago in
Senator
committee.
Paul, I have allowed Dr. Fauci to respond. You've had your time. I'm going to give him.
He's going to
one
be
more minute.
dishonest. He ought to be challenged.
Senator Paul, we will allow Dr. Fauci to respond after you've given accusations like that. Dr. Fauci.
Well, I don't have any more to say except to say that, as usual, and I have a great deal of respect for this body of the Senate, and it makes me very uncomfortable to have to say something, but he is egregiously incorrect in what he says. Thank you.
History will figure that out on its own.
So we will turn to Senator Hassan. Thank you.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function. Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans.
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about. Okay, you get
NIH,
one person.
Let's read from the NIH definition of gain of function. This is your definition that you guys wrote. It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among mammals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
And let's let Dr. Fauci.
I have to, well, now you're getting into something. If the point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2, that's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well,
we don't
wait
know
a minute.
If it did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator, because if you look at the viruses that were used in the experiments, that were given in the annual reports, that were published in the literature, it is molecularly impossible.
No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It
no
is
one is alleging that
molecularly.
those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That
you
is
can't
not.
get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
I'm not obfuscating the truth.
Senator
You are the
Paul's
one.
time is expired, but I will allow the witness to.
Let me just finish. I want everyone to understand that if you look at those viruses, and that's judged by qualified virologists and evolutionary biologists, those viruses are molecularly impossible to result in SARS-CoV-2.
Viruses caused the pandemic. We're saying they are gain-of-function viruses because they were animal viruses that became more transmissible in human, and you funded it.
And you
admit the truth.
And you implying.
Senator Paul, your time has expired, and I will allow witnesses who come before this committee to respond.
And you are implying that what we did was responsible for the deaths of individuals. I totally resent that. And if anybody is lying here,
Revival
Senator,
starts with just one, but it spreads like wildfire. You want to know why the church doesn't have any power anymore? It's because the saints of old are dead and nobody prays until they pray through. They pray too, but they don't pray through. When you pray through, revival happens in your heart. And when it happens in your heart, it's catching like a wildfire. It'll happen to the person in the heart next to you. And then both of you will be able to set it off, and two people on the other side of you. Then they get to set it off. Then they get to set it off. Then before you know what's happened, you've got revival sweeping the land. You've got the will of God being done. You've got the sick being healed, the blind being able to see, the deaf being able to hear, the lame being able to walk, the dumb being able to speak. You've got the dead being raised, the lepers being cleansed. You've got the devils being cast out of people. You've got people feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, giving water to those who are thirsty. You got them going about the Father's business. And then the government go, wait, hang on. We didn't see this coming. Yeah, we slipped it in on you. We slipped it in on you. We slipped it in on you. We eased through the back door when you were too busy looking out the front. And now look what we've done. We've started revival in the United States of America, and we're taking back God's country for God. Did you hear what I said? We're starting revival in the United States of America, and we're taking back God's country for God. This country's motto is, "In God we trust." Not Joe Biden, not Nancy Pelosi. I'm sorry, not Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris, not Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul. In God we trust. Last night, I had this dream. I don't know if a dream was got anything to do with it or not, but I'm going to tell you about it. I wasn't here in this country. I was somewhere in Israel, out in the desert. And I was sitting, and I was looking into a fire, and it was dark. I mean, boo dark. And there was a little fire going right there, right in front of me. And I was looking at it. You know how when you sit around the fire, you stare into the fire? Well, I was staring into the fire. I started seeing faces in it. I saw Joe Biden. I saw Kamala Harris. I saw George W. Bush. I saw Bill Clinton. I saw Anthony Fauci's face. I saw Hillary Clinton's face. I saw Chuck Schumer's face. I saw Adam Schiff's face. Just bunches of faces. And I'm sitting there looking at these faces, and they just look like they're in so much torment, so much agony. And then all of a sudden, rising up out of the smoke turned white, and it was ancient Hebrew. Folks, I don't read ancient Hebrew, but I could read this. And it said, "These people profess me with their lips, but are far from me with their hearts. They will bow before me and answer for all that they have done. And they shall be cast into the fire, and there shall they burn for all eternity. For I am the Lord God. You do not turn your back from me."